No new wars is what we were promised, and a wholly unjustifiable and illegal war is what we have gotten under Donald Trump's administration. And he would be the first person to tell you that. And in fact, he did this morning on Fox to a couple of hosts who were so stunned by the idiotic, incompetent, of course, angry answers that Donald Trump, who was clearly riddled with dementia, gave on a phone call in which he completely just broke down. This is a man who very clearly has little idea of what he is actually doing, the strikes he carried out. But he was more than willing to admit the one thing that everyone in his administration doesn't want him to, which is last night Donald Trump committed once again another crime. We are going to get into what was a meltdown on Fox. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into that moment in which Donald Trump just stunned these hosts at Fox with the insane answer he gave when asked about his illegal actions, I want to start where he did, attacking Democrats for calling out how unconstitutional this was.
One Democrat, Jim McGovern, is saying that you did not get authorization from Congress. And he says Trump just launched an unjustified illegal strike on Venezuela. Wanted to get your reaction to that.
Well, look, these are weak, stupid people, and they're trying to save themselves from almost destroying our country. If I didn't get elected, our country would not, I don't even think we'd have a country right now. We were heading down the path of destruction. We had inflation. We had high prices. They're the ones that caused high prices, not us. We're bringing the prices way down. We have oil now in many places $1.99 a gallon. And, you know, when you do oil, everything follows, but everything is following. But, no, they would have destroyed our country. If we didn't get elected, if Kamala or a Joe type got elected, if that group got elected, but if Kamala got elected, I don't think at this point we would even have a country. We were laughed at all over the world. The money was flowing out. Everybody was leaving. The companies were leaving. The people were leaving. The wealth was leaving. We have $18 trillion coming back into our country.
I expect a similar and robust response from congressional Democrats that looks like how Mark Kelly and Jason Crow and Alyssa Slotkin responded when they believed that Pete Hegseth would continue to issue illegal orders. And that is, do not follow them. These people only respond to fear and intimidation. And it is the only way to ensure that we do not continue to see further illegal action is letting everyone know, whether it be those taking their illegal orders from Pete Hegseth or those obstructing justice alongside Pam Bondi, that what they're doing they will be held accountable for. But Donald Trump views this as a big problem with Democrats, that it is our fault, some reason, for wanting to push back against an illegal invasion, which clearly has no purpose except for the one that Donald Trump actually gave right here. And it's exactly what you'd expect.
Venezuela, for those that illegal oil are already starting to suffer. What do you see as the future of Venezuela's oil industry?
Well, I see that we're going to be very strongly involved in it. That's all. I mean, what can I say? We have the greatest oil companies in the world, the biggest, the greatest, and we're going to be very much involved in it. We can't do something like this, and we're prepared. You know, we were prepared to do a second wave. We were all set, and this was so lethal, this was so powerful that we didn't have to, but we're prepared. We're out there with an armada like nobody's ever seen before, and we're prepared, and frankly, probably thought we were going to have to do it.
Much like a lot of his reasoning, which is very faulty and flimsy. It just seems like he's gotten himself wrapped around a word once again in his campaign and through the beginning of this administration. Of course, it's been tariffs. He just likes saying it. And now it's oil. Trump just thinks if he says oil enough, everyone will get on his side. And right now, I don't know if it's his obviously tanking approval rating, the Epstein files, a crumbling economy. But there are a million different reasons why Donald Trump wants to engage in an unjustified and illegal war. And if he thinks that telling people that oil is going to be cheaper and that's going to get him out of this, I just don't know what he's thinking. But clearly, He's not thinking clearly enough to do the one thing that I'm sure Marco Rubio, before Donald Trump went on air, begged him not to do, which is admit that he's breaking the law right now.
All they do is complain. They don't talk about, they should say, you know what, we did a great job. We're stopping drugs from coming into this country. And nobody's been able to do it until we came along. But they should say, great job.
He's mad that Democrats are complaining that it's illegal and not the illegality of it. Are we still doing the no new wars thing? Is that still going to be a bumper sticker? Is JD Vance going to have a dumb tweet? Is he going to say, well, this isn't really a war because Dada give a horrible explanation? These people are so flimsy and unprincipled. They're not good faith actors. And that's why they should never ever be taken seriously. And it was even hard for the host at Fox to do so. Just kind of listen to them murmur under their breath as Donald Trump responds to people's very real concerns about the actions he just took. Even the host at Fox seemed stunned.
For your administration, this military strike, the capture of Maduro.
We've had a lot of signature moments, if you really think about it.
It certainly was. Let's add it to the list, one of the signature moments. But what do you say to the people waking up to this news this morning who are concerned that these actions may result in prolonged involvement of U.S. military in Venezuela?
Well, first of all, I say that what we're doing is saving lives because the drug trafficking is so bad. It's gotten so out of control. And you know, when you think 97% of the drugs coming in by sea, by ocean, by waterway, 97% down. It's almost nothing left. You don't see ships. You don't see anybody. You see very few ships coming in loaded up with, hundreds of bags of fentanyl, cocaine, and everything else you can imagine. It's virtually stopped. And we'll stop it on land. And this was one of the things that we did to stop it on land. We had to do this. In order to stop it on land, this was a part of it. There are other parts and there are other areas, frankly. But what they did is really amazing. And I think it sends a signal. We're not going to be pushed around as a country anymore by these countries where we want to be politically correct all the time. They're killing our people.
Does.
If we had a war, if you lost 300,000 people, in the Civil War, we lost 600,000 people. We lose 300,000 people a year to drugs.
You can hear them quietly murmuring, and maybe they thought their mics were turned off as Donald Trump through most of this. I don't even know if you can call it an interview, was ranting and rambling, but they just seem confused as any of us should be. There was no purpose for this, in all actuality. Donald Trump, in the beginning of his administration, thought that he was seizing Greenland or taking Canada. He kind of played around with the idea of going to war with Mexico as well. Donald Trump thinks that he can justify his actions, but he just can't. And just because this light that is helping this video went out, doesn't mean I think that means that Donald Trump is maybe listening to us right now, considering that light just shut off. And Kash Patel is hacked into my hotel room. But it's insane I think that these people believe it at this point will go along with anything that they're saying that they're able to be trusted. The flip-flopping is so obvious. They've gone back and forth on anything that they believe to be a principle of theirs. It's embarrassing. And I guess they think that at this moment in time. And all it can really show is that, I don't know, he seems more worried about a base that's falling apart than maybe any other aspect of his approval. But if he honestly thinks that people will just fall in line with this, I can't get behind that, especially as Trump continues to show us that he is in no fit mental state to even be making bad faith arguments to the people who serve him in a cult. Like, listen to him once again, making HCA, unable to make a distinction between asylum and insane asylums as he's done for so long.
Tremendous numbers of people were being killed through drugs. And what they did to our country in sending prisoners and people from mental institutions and drug lords and everything, they sent them by the hundreds of thousands of people into our country. And that is just unforgivable. That's why, he wanted to negotiate at the end, and I didn't want to negotiate. I said, nope, we got to do it. He was trying to negotiate at the end. You probably saw that. And trying hard to make a deal. And I said, and, this could have been a very foolish thing if it didn't work out. But I said, nope, we can't do it. What he did with drugs is bad. What he did with a lot of other things is bad. But what he did was sending hundreds of thousands of Tren de Aragua and drug dealers. And they emptied out their jails into our country. They emptied out, if you think about it, they emptied out all of their mental institutions into our country. What he did there, and every other thing, is unforgivable.
I don't think it's particularly breaking any news to say that this just sounds like the stupidest person in the world. But again, it's what leads me to believe that the decision making behind this was more a reflection of Donald Trump's feelings about his base. He has to, at this point, understand how over it is, how raps this whole thing is, that it's not and has never looked good even for a moment to begin this new year. It's interesting to think about where we were and what people believed this administration would look like 12 months ago. And I always talk about that. I think it was New Yorker cover The Cruel Kids Table, how being conservative was a movement amongst young people, and something had changed. Donald Trump believed that he was a culture shifting, not just political figure, because obviously he has changed so much about what our world is and what our politics looks like. But he thought that he was going to be shaping the ideology of the right to be something more commonplace, right? He believed that he was no longer a radical because he won a couple more votes, and it just wasn't the case. The idea that Donald Trump was going to be able to hold on to what even then was a slim majority of voters by constantly breaking every promise that he made just seems insane. And it is why no one should have bought into any of the lies that he was telling, and no one should allow him to pretend like there is any real meaning behind what he's doing. Right now, you can talk about a dictatorial regime, you can talk about the need for different leadership, but that is not what Donald Trump is after. And he should not be taken seriously. And 12 months ago, he was, to an extent. This idea that conservatism was on the rise was taken seriously. And too many people played into it, thought that they had to go along, thought that they had to condone these actions, that was the politically correct move. I'm not sure that's the case today. This is going to be an ongoing and incredibly difficult to process story. We are going to be covering it all on the show, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Till next time, y'all, I will see you soon.